Hi, everybody, and welcome to the Property AI Report. This is your weekly summary of all things happening in the property and AI intersection, and with some fascinating stories from the week that really highlight how powerful this technology is going to be in our lives and in our industries and in our work. What I wanted to do, as usual, is run through three kind of core topics, 5 quick fire rounds, and then a little bit of a tool of the week to help you do your jobs better already. Let's start off then with our headline news. First story in our headline news this week is about a new release from OpenAI. It's called Deep Research, and its idea is that essentially you can instruct an AI to go and do various things for you, and it will go and find a way to do that. It will check back on itself and make sure that it's not being stupid, and then it will continue to execute against the task that it is instructed to do. And it's already achieving highest scores on some of these benchmark tests. Now, I think the latest one is called something like Final Human Exam, which basically is supposed to indicate that once AI gets better than this, then essentially it is better than humans at doing whatever. So I think this particular deep research gets 16.5%, which smashes every other AI model out there so far. But I think what's really interesting about it is it uses this technology which is called AI agents or agentic AI, right? Not AI estate agents. This is agentic AI. And what that means is it is AI with agency. So essentially, it can go out and do things on its own and find its own way to success. So if you define success in an appropriate way, then it will find a way to go and achieve that. So this apparently is, so at the moment, it's only available to US Pro users of OpenAI. It is going to come over to us pretty soon, I'd imagine, in the next few weeks. But it has, I think, the potential to change a significant amount of how we currently do what we do. And let me explain why. As I think many come from a kind of a portal background, that helps out Prime Location back in 2000, Zoopla in 2008. And so I love property portals, right? I was there for the transition from print to digital. And it was one of those where how quickly did this happen, slowly then all at once. And everybody says print's never going to die, of course it's never going to die, blah, blah. And then now it's still around, but it's a very niche kind of luxury item that you would purchase for a particular property, or if you wanted to win a particular instruction, for example. But everything's online now, everything's digital. And the fact that consumers were able to search for aggregated properties that fitted the description of properties they wanted, rather than you can just see the ones that we have as an estate agency in our front window or the back office. That changed everything, and people were absolutely all over the search functionalities on Rightmove and others. And that obviously is established as the leading place to advertise property that it is today. But the lessons of print are really valuable here as well, because what changed was consumers' desire to search in a different way. They found that actually it was easy, but led by the likes of Google and more broad search, that they realized that actually they could search for their ideal property using an aggregator. Then that was much more straightforward than flicking through print, where there was a subset of a subset. And essentially, you were going to have to do a lot of heavy lifting yourselves to find the right property for you. So now when we look at the current environment, and we look at the likes of OpenAI and the new Deep Research, people are becoming increasingly used to, and will become even more used to, looking for things and discovering things just by asking AI, by chatting to their phone, by typing things into an AI assistant. So this, I think, when it's allied with OpenAI and others' agentic AI, which means that basically I can chat to my phone and ask it to go and find, for example, a 3-bedroom property with a sea view near a good school with excellent transport links, a large garden, and a skylight in the kitchen, then it will go away and search the internet to find that. right? And it will take as long as it needs to go and find that. You might also add in things like, actually, I'm thinking of it being a second home and therefore I'd like a yield potential that is above 6%. Also, if it can be, if you looked at other properties in the street, if it can be at least sort of 5% lower than the highest value property that's ever sold in that street. Again, these are things that AI is going to be able to go and do. So what does that change? What it changes is how those properties are currently delivered to the eyeballs of searchers, buyers and tenants right now. Because for Rightmove, obviously their margin and their profitability and their ability to ramp up prices significantly to its agent customers stems from the fact that it is perceived as pretty much the only game in town, or the place where you have to advertise, and sellers believe that. And the longer they continue to believe that, as they used to believe with print, then the more it will continue to be the case. However, if you can search for a property with that level of granularity, the attributes in that level of detail, then you do not need a website that you have to go and type things into, and then you have to sift through the results of. And by the way, those results will be slightly corrupted by the fact that some agents will have paid more to appear at the top, and there's other sponsored links around, and you have to go through a number of interstitial pages for no real reason. And all that's just hassle. And actually, just like it used to be hassle going and buying a newspaper, flicking through that one and then not finding anything, and then having to wait for the next newspaper the next week and then doing the same thing again, and or going to an estate agent's office and flicking through their folders of properties. You don't have to do that anymore because you can use Rightmove. Now, you don't have to use Rightmove anymore because you can actually just go and ask an AI. I think that this is essentially the start of the end for property portals. Okay, certainly for property portals being as central to the property discovery process as they have been for the last 25 years. And I'd say that with no particular cheerfulness. Again, I come from a background of property portals, and there are some great portals out there and some great people who work for portals out there. There are some portals, let's call them Rightmove, that have basically used their power to not benefit the industry. I think that the way that they have ratcheted up their prices and shoveled all of that extra cash into shareholders' pockets rather than necessarily investing in the industry or helping innovation is terrible. And anybody who's listened to me talk about this before knows that. However, I think that the arrival of OpenAI's deep research very specifically is a precursor to people changing how they search for properties. And I think that's going to introduce a really exciting time for all of us, where essentially you're not going to have to pay quite as much for Rightmove anymore. There, I said it. Essentially, you are going to be able to release some of that marketing spend because consumers are going to believe you now that actually Rightmove isn't the only game in town. Consumers are going to know because they will be using AI themselves and various AI assistants. They will know that actually they don't have to just go on Rightmove because they themselves are not doing it. So it's going to be that time where, again, what you will be able to do is to actually, as an agent, as a lettings agent, you'll be able to actually advertise where you want to advertise. You'll be able to explain and articulate the different places that you've decided to choose to put their property because you think that they are the best places to go. And I think it's going to be very exciting from an industry perspective to be able to step out from under that vice-like grip that we've, and particularly we've had on estate agents and lettings agents marketing budgets over time, and actually go and find things that are genuinely really effective rather than things that have been depreciating in effectiveness over a long time and yet are charging increasingly eye-watering amounts for the privilege of basically having access to a logo, Rightmove, that you can go and talk to people and say, I'm on there. Huge news, I think, this week. I think is going to be even more impactful as we go through 2025. And I don't doubt that this time next year, so it is the 3rd of February 2025, let's chat again 2026. And I have no doubt that in February 2026, we will see this as a very live way of people searching for property, and it will be bringing in many leads and will be a darn sight cheaper than Rightmove, and Rightmove will have had to respond to it. That's going to be interesting to see where they go, because their profit margin, which they've committed to their shareholders to maintain up until 2028, is going to come under increasing pressure, I think. And I think that agents are going to be looking for alternative solutions, and that's going to be something exciting. So watch this space. All right, our next headline news is all about the Stargate, which is a very exciting name, but not necessarily fully realized in terms of how it's going to impact everything over in the States. As we discussed briefly last week, President Trump, as I must call him, has launched this Stargate initiative. Now, in the week since it was all announced, many things have kicked off in terms of whether this is actually a real, whether it's got any money. Basically, it's pledged that this is going to cost $500 billion, which is $500 billion. And Elon Musk, amongst others, have said it hasn't got any money, and it's all just smoke and mirrors, mostly because of his beef with Sam Altman of OpenAI, but also he's probably true that it's not all there. However, what's interesting, I think, about this is really how everybody is thinking about the future of AI and the structural future. So we are going to need many data centers to operate. They are then going to have associated with them power, essentially power drivers. So you will look at things like solar. There's a lot of stuff going on in the Middle East right now, also in kind of the south of the US, to build essentially sources of power. So whether, again, there's solar, also nuclear is being looked at all over again as well. This drive over the next few years to create these huge data centers is going to create capacity for AI and compute that I think is going to make it essentially so that intelligence is like electricity. So you're going to be able to plug in and find answers to things like that, just at will. And what that then becomes is a challenge for us humans to ask the right questions, because the answers are going to be everywhere. And I think and that to me is really where AI and the future of work lives, is in that ability, and people will become increasingly skilled at this, the ability to harness all of that intelligence, just like we used to harness electricity and use it for good, ill, waste it, whatever. The people who are best at using it most profitably are going to be those who succeed in the future. So we spend a lot of time here at Model Prop thinking about how can we help you, agents, lettings agents, others involved in the property industry and elsewhere, to harness this access. Because yes, whilst it is patchy at the moment, it is still phenomenal. But going forwards, we are going to have intelligence on tap. Right? We are going to be able to have the answer to anything at our fingertips, and we are going to become, some of us are going to become better than others at harnessing that and being able to utilize that for the future. When you look at this stuff with Stargate and all of the big infrastructure projects that are going to be created around the globe, then yeah, now is the time to start thinking about how you become super knowledgeable about AI. Get AI literate. Listen to us, me, yap on here at the Property AI Report podcast. Read our newsletters. Go find some other stuff. Play around with it. That's the most important thing. Keep testing it. Keep trying it. Keep understanding what it's capable of, because this is what is going to help you to navigate the years that are coming, where again, it is not going to be about whether the answer is there. It is going to be about how quickly you can get to it, and then how effectively you can use that information to profitably impact your business and your life, because it's going to be really different, I think, pretty quite soon. And that is why I think that it's something that everybody needs to be really aware of very quickly. So that's our second key story, is really the kind of aftermath, the ripple effects of this Stargate project, and what that means for all of us as we look into the next sort of 2-3 years, and how it's going to impact us. So on the back of that, we get to our third story, which is about AGI, which is artificial general intelligence. So as we build out all of these data centers, as information and intelligence becomes ubiquitous and on tap, then it is clear that AI is soonish going to be as intelligent as us and as good at doing certain things as we are. Now, that might be a source of utmost terror for some of us or super excitement for others. But what is without doubt is that it is going to change what we do. And it is going to change how we perceive pretty much everything. We had this week, and the reason why it's in this week's Property AI report, Dario Amodei, who is the CEO of Anthropic, who create the Claude suite of AI products. Claude is really good. It has been slightly superseded recently by some of the Google stuff and OpenAI's latest, but they are likely to come back pretty strong, I think, in the next couple of months, if not earlier. But Dario was out there basically saying that, yes, he did agree finally that by 2027 or so, we are likely to have AGI, artificial general intelligence, which is AI that is as smart as humans and able to do human stuff just like we can. The next level, by the way, is artificial superintelligence, ASI, which is where essentially is brainier than all of us, and various expectations in terms of when that might happen, but looking at by 2035, sort of. So, it's coming pretty soon. So all of this stuff is coming really soon. So what we are talking about here is what does that mean for kind of office work? How are we going to deploy ourselves and our resources, and how are we going to get this work done when essentially what we are looking at is the ability of this intelligence and this life form to know more than we do? So again, what we're trying to think about is how to prepare for this eventuality. So what I think when I look around at how agents operate right now, I think we've got to get a lot more comfortable with some of them, with machines doing the machine work. And again, those that I speak to on a regular basis, those who've heard me speak in the past, I am obsessed with this idea that humans are going to continue to do the human stuff, and we want to help humans to do more of that human stuff. And the machines are going to be essentially doing the machine stuff. So we can really train these AIs on what we know. So our data, every agent has an extraordinary amount of data internally, and that needs to be leveraged, and that needs to be put somewhere and then trained, an AI trained on the back of it. And this is something that we work really hard with a lot of agents on, because then out of that, you can get AI assistants, you can get voice AI, you get loads and loads of stuff that is done very quickly and effectively by AI, behaving as if it was one of your team members. That's going to accelerate. There is going to be a lot more of that coming through. And as we go over the next couple of years, then yes, we will see essentially businesses, agencies that are made up of a couple of humans and a lot of AIs helping out. All right. And that is going to be fascinating and weird, but also exciting and profitable. And I think that's going to be something that is for those that embrace it, and for those that do see it and get involved in it early, I think that's going to be a really radical change to how businesses operate, not the concept of using people to help with moving house. All right. It's a people business. And this is what I've said again, 25 years ago, when we set up Prime Location, agents would see disintermediation under the bed. All right. It was the thing that they thought the internet was going to come and take away their relevance, as they saw recruitment consultants disappear off the high street, accountants, all these kind of intermediaries just started to drift. But actually, estate agents 25 years later are still here. And I fundamentally believe that they will always be present in that transaction, because it's such an important transaction. And no amount of, and I work in AI, no amount of AI is going to be able to help you know that this is the right deal for you. And really having a human on hand to just give you that information, that understanding, that knowledge, that experience is going to be something that is going to continue to stand people in good stead as they transact on the biggest value item, the biggest asset that they've got in their lives. So again, really, I think important meta global kind of macro things happening as a result of some of the stuff this week. So keep an eye on those. Again, we'll come back to this a number of times over the course of the months and years ahead. But yeah, if it's something that you're interested in, then do drop us a line. We're more than happy to always chat about what these things mean for very specific agencies, as well as for the market in general. All right, so those are our big three headline stories this week. We wanted to now move into just some of these quick fire stories. So I'm going to go on a quick five and want to start with TikTok. Now, for those who either have kids, are kids, teenagers, and love to be understanding of what's happening in youth culture, then obviously TikTok is not something that will have passed you by. I very much accept that at the age of 52, that TikTok is not something that is directed at me. However, I do have teenage sons who use it, I'm going to say religiously, certainly way more than they should do, particularly in their GCSE year. But I digress. TikTok has been banned and then unbanned over in the States. And Donald Trump has unbanned it for 75 days, which is where the race is on for it to be sold. Now, regular watchers will recall that essentially this was the threat that Joe Biden put on TikTok and said they had to either offload it, sell it, or it would close down. And essentially all that's happened is that Donald Trump has delayed that for 75 days. He's not said that this is not going to happen. But so various companies are trying to throw their hats into the ring. Perplexity, one of the AI companies that got a really good search functionality, they've said that they'll acquire 50% of it and then the US government can acquire the other 50%. But the real unknown here that seems to be passing everybody by as they talk about how exciting it might be that TikTok would be saved, is that the Communist Party of China that owns or at least influences most of what Chinese companies do, and certainly the owners of TikTok do, has given no indication that it remotely wants to release its grip of this tool that allows it to see inside the minds of American youth. So that I just think when we get to the end of the TikTok saga and 75 days, Trump turns around and says, well, you either got to divest yourself of it or we're going to close it. I think we're probably going to be back at the same place again, where essentially they're going to hope that over the next 75 days, they can get even more TikTokers to protest that this is going to kill their ability to earn and it's tragedy and all that sort of stuff. But then they will not be able to stop it from closing down because because ByteDance, who own it, will not divest themselves of it because it's going to harm the Chinese parties. This, again, I think is going to play out over the next sort of few weeks, but I think it's going to be really interesting just because there's been a lot of talk about how this is an absolute vindication for TikTok and a kind of a happy day that TikTok is not going to go anywhere. It's not going anywhere for a little while, but I think it will be essentially banned in due course. And if it is, then I think it's probably going to be, Trump is probably going to threaten all sorts if other countries don't ban it along the same lines as well. Yeah, I still think there's a lot to play out on that one. Next up in quickfire, something called Boom has launched and literally launched. Is the first civilian aircraft to go supersonic. All right, so it's essentially, it looks quite like Concorde, and I'm sadly at an age that missed out on Concorde and still a bit upset that I never got to fly at supersonic speeds over to the States. However, Boom XB might just make my dreams come true, and those of others who missed out. Because yes, the trial aircraft has now gone supersonic over the Mojave Desert over in the States, and they are now thinking that they are going to build an aircraft that enables people to go fly all around the world in these planes that are super speed. So that is obviously something that's very exciting. Technology is an amazing thing. The fact that we haven't had a Concorde equivalent for decades is not just a source of sadness, but yes, also weird, because why wasn't anybody else trying to focus on it, for example? So that's now something that they think they can do, and that's great. So we will see how that plays out in the coming months and years as well. But obviously it's something that is super exciting for those that like to get around. So exciting times. Okay, so next on our list of quickfire topics is Trump's meme coin. Again, don't want to spend too much time on this. You've probably seen it. It grew to 14.5 billion, I think, of value, and it is now decreased by something like 45% off the back of that. Yeah, watch out, kids. Meme coins, really bad. Unless you are in right at the front and then sell really quickly, then it is literally just a massive kind of Ponzi scheme, and the President of the United States has made an absolute killing off the back of it, but very few other people will. So yes, it has gone up, it has gone down. Melinda's also launched, it's gone up, it's gone down. This is what will happen to all of them. So yeah, just be a bit careful when you come to seeing any of these meme coins out there. they are literally not worth investing in because they are not an investment. They are just essentially a marketing Ponzi scheme. It would be funny if it wasn't quite so tragic for very many people, but hopefully everybody who's got involved in it understands that it wasn't really about investing. It was just about a bit of fun, and they had the money to lose because, generally speaking, lose it most of those that arrived late. That's Trump's meme coin. Next up, we've got just a quick touch on DeepSeek and China. So China, we spoke about China briefly in TikTok, the TikTok story. China and DeepSeek, which is this amazing new model that rivals OpenAI's O1 reasoning model, but doesn't take up nearly as much money to train nor to host or to use it for inference. This has really focused on China's ability to get its technology out. What has been happening across the world is a real focus on how can China potentially be contained. And really, people are starting to accept and agree that it really can't. That actually the intelligence and its ability to utilize others' breakthroughs and then to produce it at scale is something that is very much inherent in how they operate and how they're set up. And to the point that there's another report out today around them being able to create nuclear fusion. So it has been spotted from a satellite that they've got a brand new base laboratory that it looks like it has been set up to generate nuclear fusion. Now, if they achieve this, then essentially that is unlimited energy without any of the kind of the nuclear waste. It doesn't burn fossil fuels. It is pure, clean energy and unlimited amounts of. Yeah, there's a lot that China is doing that is of concern to those that fear its military might for a start. But yes, there are countermeasures going on right across particularly from America, looking to stymie some of this and to make sure that China doesn't get access to all of the technology that's going to make it, yes, very difficult to stop. This is, again, what we always want to talk about here is what's happening out there and the real kind of issues that are live in this world that we're entering. But yes, the fact that DeepSeek is out there is not entirely benign in terms of what it can then what it shows about what is possible for China to create. So again, it's something that we will be across as we build out into the future. But yes, alongside all of this amazing technological improvement and impact, positivity, just like any technology, there is going to be negatives around it as well. So watch this space, and I'm sure that pretty soon we'll be seeing some more activity around both China's capacity and also the efforts to restrain that and constrain that. All right, our final story, and actually it comes off the back of some of the crypto stuff. There is a sad story in the French newspapers about a crypto founder or co-founder of the firm Ledger over in France. And he was kidnapped, and his wife was kidnapped, and a ransom was paid essentially for his return. And this plays again into this kind of idea that crypto is very Wild West, and that there isn't really, basically there's so much money sloshing around that people are using it for ill. I do think crypto has a place, and I think it's an interesting technology. I think that what it's been tried to be used for so far hasn't necessarily showcased the best of it, but I do think that going forwards, whilst there may be many things that are worrisome around Trump's meme coin, for example, his embrace of crypto could potentially bring into play a technology that is forward-thinking, that can be adopted and utilized in ways that aren't entirely negative and carry this kind of almost sleazy edge to it. So I do think that it's going to be something that becomes more and more useful going forwards. Obviously, things like, again, this kind of story about somebody being kidnapped in order to release some crypto to the kidnappers. These are the kinds of stories that are detrimental to what I think potentially crypto can be. So I think that, again, with the support of the US government, crypto is going to become much more of a power, much more of a utilitarian piece of technology. And I think that's going to seep into everything that we do, including transacting on properties, which I think for some time it's been played around a little bit. But yes, with blockchain and various other technologies, I think there's a good chance that it might actually become something useful and something that we are all going to use in our daily lives as well. Yeah, again, something that I think technology is taking forwards that can be applicable to the property market. If not now, then certainly I think in the coming months and years. All right, finally, let's get on to our tool of the week. So this week's tool of the week is very close to home. So we launched here at Model Prop Voice Prop AI last week. And what that does is that plugs into your telephony system as an estate agent, letting agent, and it answers queries that consumers have. It will also forward messages. It will allow people to book viewings, and it can also give people information about various things that you do, services that you offer, etc. So it's a really cool implementation of AI. We've been working on it for a few weeks now, just to bring it to market, because now voice is so good that actually it can really help save you time, money, in terms of some of the, as I said before, some of the machine-based tasks, the things that humans shouldn't be doing and the machines should be doing, taking messages, booking diary appointments, things like that are absolutely solvable via AI. Yeah, have a look, Voice Prop AI, come to us and have a chat with us at Model Prop. It's going to be huge. It's something that we think we fundamentally believe is going to free up your team to improve their productivity, to be much more revenue generative, and essentially is going to be powerful from a productivity point of view and also help save you costs. So that's out there now. That is our tool of the week, Voice Prop AI. Okay, that's it for this week's Property AI Report. Thanks so much for joining me. I'll be back again next week with plenty more from the Property AI sphere. My name is Mal McCallion. Have a great week, and I will catch you on the other side. All the best. Take care. Bye-bye.